Welcome back, programmers. It's day 3 and we're going to talk about functions. So I'm going to assume you've already shared yesterday's projects and you've already watched this awesome video by Chris Bosch about what functions are. If you haven't, watch it now. I'll wait. All right, we know that functions are something that controls what something does and it has a name. So we're going to look at how functions work in P5.js and then we're going to write our own. So let's open up just the basic web editor here. When it starts, it just gives you setup and draw. And these are already functions. We know you've seen that before. The word functions right there. So the magic that's happening underneath this, the code that's actually running, is when you press play. P5.js is going to run setup one time, and it's going to run draw over and over and over and over. So it's going to go setup, draw, 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 draw. Okay? The setup function is run once, the draw function is run a lot of times, and those are functions that are built in. All right, create canvas is also a function, but we're not defining it like we're defining setup. We're calling it. So it's already defined somewhere else. We know there's a reference about it. We know it exists. We know what its name is, and we know what parameters it takes, what arguments we can give it. And then background is already a function too, and it just takes one argument. The cool thing is you can write your own functions. So I'm going to show you one I made earlier. This is my strawberry ice cream. Imagine I wanted to draw an ice cream cone over and over. Lots of places on the screen. I wanted to draw like a strawberry one here and a grape one here and a chocolate one here. Am I going to copy and paste this code lots and lots of times? You know, maybe if I have 2 and 3, maybe I would. I'd copy it and then I'd mess with the arguments and it'd be fine. But say I wanted like 100 of them or 1,000 of them, no way. So I'm going to take a shortcut and make an ice cream function. So the way we do that is we're just gonna follow the structure of the setup function. We're going to start by typing the keyword function and then give your function a name. So mine's going to draw an ice cream, so I'm just going to call it ice cream. Since it's 2 words, I'm going to capitalize the first letter of the second word like iPad. Now the next thing we need is parentheses, open and close. And then I'm going to give it an open curly brace, which is the one right next to my letter P on my keyboard. So I use my shift key and do an open curly brace. Oh, and when I did that, P5.js automatically gave me the close one. Thank you, that's very helpful. So my cursor's still in the middle of them. I'm going to make sure in the middle, I'm going to press enter a few times, just give myself some space. So see, now it looks just like the setup function. It starts with function setup, and this one starts function ice cream. It's got parentheses, it's got an open curly brace, and it's got a closed curly brace at the end. So now we have room to put our code inside to say, what does the ice cream function do? So I'm going to very carefully look at my code and just select everything that's the ice cream. Not create canvas, not background, just the ice cream part. And I'm going to X that, I'm going to cut it out, and I'm going to paste it into the ice cream function instead. All right, so now my function setup just does create canvas and background, and then I have an ice cream function that draws the ice cream. And when I press play, it's going to do nothing, because I've said what ice cream means, but I haven't actually told it to draw an ice cream yet. So I have to actually call the function that I've defined. So I'm going to type ice cream, and like every function, it needs open and close parentheses after it, and let's give it some end punctuation. Now when I press play, strawberry. Okay, so that's how I take my code out and build it into a function. That doesn't actually give me any benefit until I start giving it arguments. So say I wanted my ice cream to be a different flavor, not strawberry. Say I wanted it to be mint, spring green. Okay, I'm gonna press play and what? It didn't do it. It's because I've said spring green, but my function definition over here says, I don't know what you mean. I don't take any arguments. So we're gonna have to catch that argument and use it for something. So what we do, when it's here, it's called an argument. When it's here, it's called a parameter. People use the terms interchangeably, so don't worry about that. So I'm going to catch it and give it a name. So my first parameter, I'm going to call it col1 because it's the first color. Oh, okay. So once I give it that name, I can then use that name in my code. So I'm going to say, instead of pink, I'm going to send it call1. So instead of being pink all the time, I'm going to use whatever color I called. So now when I press play, spring green, mint. All right, so now when I do that, I can have chocolate, brown, excellent. I can have what, magenta. What flavor is that? That's a crazy flavor. So now I have a function that has a name. I can give it an argument. It names that argument in its parameter, and then it uses that parameter to do something. I want you to go and investigate, what are the parts of the function? Here is some starter code for you. This one is slightly different. So the challenge is to figure out, what are the parts, what do they do, and how do they link together? So you're going to be able to make a copy of your observations on this Google slide. Remember, you want to give it a part name. It doesn't have to be the exact name. You can just make one up. And a purpose. What is it for, or what does it do? So we know that this first thing here is the first argument. I'm going to type argument 1. And the purpose is it's going to set the color of the ice cream. Great. So what are the other parts? Find whatever you can. And if you find any tips or anything, stick them in there. Any notes are good. Use whatever names you want. Just do your best. Have fun. Okay, so now we can make an ice cream of any flavor we want. So what? That doesn't help us put lots of ice creams all over the screen. So let's add some parameters to our ice cream function to be able to move it. For moving, you're going to use the function translate, which you can look up in the reference. But you're going to do it before you do your drawing. Just like we set the color before we draw, we're going to translate before we start drawing. So translate will just slide, and it takes two numbers, an x and a y, for how far we're going to move it. So let's just for now type x, y, inside the parentheses, x comma y. Okay, if we want to use x and y, we need to have them in our parameter list up here, x, y. And if ice cream now takes 4 arguments, color 1, color 2, x, and y, now we have to put it where we call the function. So let's add, the x is going to be, I don't know, 200, and the y is going to be 150. Press play. Excellent. All right. So I can put in numbers and move it around. What if I put it to 100? Yes, now I can control where the entire ice cream is on the screen. What if I do another one? I'm going to do it here, and this is going to be pink and gold and maybe 250. Oh, now I have another one. But wait a minute. Did that go where I expected? I put in 50 because I wanted it to be in the top of the screen, but it's not actually. Here's the tricky part. Translate adds up. When I did 100, 150, it started in the corner and went over 100 and down 150. And then the next one, when I did 250, it started here where I already drew my last ice cream and went over 200 and went down 50. So if I want them not to add up, I can use a trick of push and pop. And the push and pop clear the translate. So the trick is, anytime you're going to use a function from 8th grade math, like translate or scale or rotate, you can put push at the top and pop at the bottom to make sure they don't add up. We've written a function, we've given it parameters, we've called the function with arguments. Now it's time to make some ice cream art. Here is the best part. Say I wanted to change what these ice creams were, maybe how many scoops they have. And say I had a bunch of these all happening at different locations. I can make one change to the function and it's going to be in all my ice creams. This is where you save the time. So say I wanted to add another scoop, and let's just make it vanilla for now. Fill white, circle, let's see, 30 would be the same, up a bit higher, maybe 0, and then the same size as the other one. Watch that. Oh, extra scoop of vanilla ice cream on all of my ice creams. So the challenge for you is to make something awesome with ice cream. Or maybe you want to use these same ideas, but change it into cupcakes. I want you to have at least 4 different ice creams or cupcakes or whatever your dessert is all over your screen. Define a function. Use push and pop if you're going to translate it. And call that function as many times as you want with all the arguments to make the changes to it.